He did. It's a sign. I gotta get next week about it. It was fun. Nah, I stopped it a couple years ago.
Yeah, come back.
I know.
Come back.
I see that.
Maybe not the way that.
Yeah. Getting some rain out here, man. It's been chilly out here. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm from Texas.
Cold yesterday.
It's weird. I thought I was promised no rain when I moved.
Yeah, me too. I was promised warm weather. These last couple of days, I need a jacket.
I had a jacket.
It's gonna get back up there.
Man, I'll take this.
You guys are welcome to northeastern Ohio weather anytime you want.
Yeah, I know, right? We're over here complaining about it.
So I suppose there's a lot of happy Ohioans after last night's basketball game, right?
Last night was a good win. That was one I think a lot of people expected them to lose, and they pulled it off late. So,
Ron's the best.
We'll see how long he can keep it up, but they survived that first round scares. We'll see if
he's definitely gonna make it to the finals. We'll just see how it goes when he gets there.
Yeah.
My 76ers don't stop you. We'll be all right.
I'm scared of the Sixers.
Yeah, the Sixers are a good team. Really good team. Hey, what's going on? How you doing, Mr. Dawson? Good to see you. How's everything been?
Finally, a good chance to meet you, man.
How's everything?
I am doing well.
Yes, sir. What's going on, brother? How's everything?
Good, man.
That's a good man here.
Hey, pray for him. I had him
coach them all, huh?
I had him when he was young.
Golly.
I've had 20 Hall of Fame.
That'll make you old, doesn't it?
20. 20. He's the second
I think
one.
I'm still young.
No, you still young. Dude.
I'm
Still
still
look
young.
young.
You
Yeah.
guys do a great job.
Oh, man. How's everything been?
Good,
Where you living at now? Still?
San Diego.
Okay. I'm living on this way. I just signed here this offseason, so I've been out here about 3 weeks now. Okay. So I appreciate the team. I like it a lot. Yeah. Transition is really smooth. So
Good. Morning, gentlemen. Good
Morning, guys.
Hey, George, we still got to take a picture, man.
Okay.
yeah, you can't beat California. No. Only thing you
Can't
can't
beat
beat is Texas. Florida. Other than that.
Oh, my goodness, I know. Well, yeah, it's always tough.
Yeah. It is what it is. Fortunate enough to make this kind of money. So
Yeah.
good thing I made a lot of money in Florida.
Guys, before you get too comfortable, we got some Gatorade for the bottle there. We'll be starting in about 1 minute. How's back your seat?
Mr. Dawson, can you hear me there in California?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, down here. So perfect. Thank you. I think you kind of know the gist of this program. I think you've done it before. So we'll kind of get started here in another minute or two. We're waiting on one school from Canada to tune in, and they may just connect in here as you know we're in progress. So if we see them connect in, we'll roll with that. But we'll get started here in a minute or two with a video, and then we'll be off and running from that point.
You got it. You got it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Appreciate it. I'm going to shoot you Mike Marty. I think it was first concert. Nice to meet you.
How you doing, sir? Nice to meet you, yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you for invading your space. You're not invading my space. I was just hoping to make it up in time with traffic. Traffic got slow a few times.
Yeah, especially
With rain. Oh, my goodness. Rain makes it worse. How are you guys doing this morning? Good. Doing well. Doing well. Yeah, I saw Mike last time I was up in Chicago. I think I was back in Pittsburgh. Yeah. I saw him at the Chicago game and
football huddle is a metaphor for our culture, imperfect like all metaphors. In that huddle is a bunch of folks that are black, brown, white, red, yellow, liberal, conservative, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Buddhist, and Hindu. We are slim, fat, short, tall, fast, and slow. We are analytical people, and we're impulsive people. We have some of the finest men on earth, and heaven knows we got a few rounders. We have been through the fires of Bear Bryant and Bo Schembechler or some such coach that knows exactly how to extract every ounce of our energy. Americans see all that and they resonate with it. They crave it. They take it and us into their hearts. The men who earn a place in the huddle have experienced the miracle of team. The training camp experience is unbelievable. It is day after day, week after week, 2 a day, 3 a day practices in the heat, often in 14 pounds of equipment. Many drop out, numbers thin, and everybody thinks about quitting. Trust me, everybody. For those who do stay, there is the opportunity to participate in the greatest team sport ever devised. It is the only sport in which every player needs every teammate on every play just to survive. We learn ever so slowly that our differences do not matter in the huddle. When we trudge in after each interminable workout, we know that sweat smells about the same on everybody's body. When we get busted in the mouth, that blood that trickles is the same color. Everybody's tired. Everybody's hurt. It is in this process that the miracle occurs. Men who've been raised to hate each other's guts become brothers. I've seen racists reformed. I've seen the most unlikely hugs after victories or losses. I've seen inner city kids invite country boys from the mountains to go home with them for Thanksgiving dinner, and I've seen those invitations accepted and reciprocated, thus changing parents' lives. Our players become brothers for life. It is what America is supposed to be, could be, might be in our best dreams.
And with that, I would like to welcome everyone here to Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, for the latest installment of our Heart of a Hall of Famer series, today featuring 2 great centers. One from Los Angeles Chargers, Mr. Mike Pouncey, and second from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Hall of Famer Dermontti Dawson. My name is Mike, and I'll be moderating today's session here from Canton, Ohio. I'd like to welcome anyone tuning in, whether you're there in person out in Los Angeles or tune in via the software, via Facebook, however you're watching us today, welcome. And we look forward to a great program today. The mission statement of the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And those values that we aim to promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. And I know I'm excited, and hopefully you are too, to hear how those values have impacted the lives of Mike and Dermontti, both on the football field as well as off. And before we kind of get into our conversation today, I do need to thank a few people. First, I need to thank our friends at Extreme Networks for all they do for us here at the Hall of Fame and for schools across the country. I need to thank our teachers, our administrators, for opening up your classrooms and embracing the idea that this message is important to our youth. I need to thank our friends there in Los Angeles at the Chargers for opening up your building and hosting our program today. And lastly, I need to thank our students. You guys get to ask a lot of the questions today, so I'm looking forward to see what questions you're going to ask of our 2 guest speakers today and kind of what we're going to get into in our conversation. So before I turn it over to them for any opening remarks they may have, I do want to share a quote that Mr. Dawson had from his enshrinement speech here in Canton, Ohio in 2012, and it goes as this, quote, "The essence of it is this: do everything with a purpose. Live, act, play, work with a purpose, with a passion, and most importantly, with honor." So with that being said, if we could give a warm round of applause to 2 great men of the game, 2 great players of the game, from the Chargers, Mr. Mike Pouncey, and Pro Football Hall of Famer, Dermontti Dawson. And then, gentlemen, any open remarks you have for our students today? We'll start maybe with you, Mike, and kind of get us started. Like I said, anything that you want to share with the group today to kind of get us rolling.
Well, I'm Mike Pouncey, center for the Los Angeles Chargers, and I'm excited to be here with all you guys today. I can tell you one thing: in life, you should always dream big. Never let anyone tell you that you can't do something. I was a kid that come from the inner city. Never thought I'd be where I am today in life, but hard work and discipline got me here. So make sure you guys always dream big.
And for me, I want to thank you guys for being here as well. But the one thing that I did learn from one of my college coaches, he said, always strive for excellence and make sure that you do it with a passion. And Jerry Claiborne used to always say, be the best. And he said, well, if you're not going to be, why do something if you're not going to be try to be the best at it? And I've kind of tried to live my life based on what my college coach told me about being the best that I can be, no matter what the circumstances or what I'm trying to accomplish.
Thank you guys for those words. And last little bit of housekeeping as before we get started here. If anyone's doing a social media day, we ask you to include our handle here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is @ProFootballHOF, and include the hashtag HOF values. So I'm going to start off with kind of our first question, and then we'll turn it over to students from this point on. We always say here at the Hall of Fame that football is a game for life. And by saying that, we mean you learn a lot of values through the game of football that can make you, in some cases, a Pro Bowl football player, a Hall of Fame football player, make you an NFL player. But those same values can also lead to success off the football field in whatever kind of avenue you want to take that. So we'll start with you, Mr. Dawson. What have you learned from the game of football that you've taken off the field?
Well, some of the values that we have at the Hall of Fame that we try to preach, commitment is the one that stands out, and also striving for excellence. No matter what you try to accomplish, whether it be school, football, it transcends just sports. And so when you commit to something, that means you want to try to be the best at it that you can. And I think then also striving for excellence, being the best that you can, no matter what it is you are trying to achieve in your life. Not only in football sport, not only in football or sports, but also in school and also in your home life. And some of these values that we preach at the Hall of Fame, you could at least kind of transcend sports and athletics. And if you incorporate them in your life, it does help you be successful. I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it does give you an upper hand as far as trying to improve your life and reaching your goals.
Same question to you, Mr. Pouncey. What has the game of football taught you that you've been able to take off the field?
I would say football has taught me everything. It's taught me all my core values in life. These same core values I pass on to my kids now that I'm raising. I have two beautiful kids, and one thing that football has always taught me is how to work with others, and ultimately how to work with others and come to and complete one goal. And I teach that to my kids. It taught me how to be a man. It taught me how to be disciplinary, and all these things that that got me where I am in life, and I still live by them. All my core values, and without football, I just don't know where I'd be.
So now that I kind of
Can I add that about commitment as well?
Absolutely.
When I was growing up, my kids, anytime those guys were to sign up for any sports, no matter what it was, it could be band, sports, I always made those guys, I would tell them, I said, hey, okay, this is a contract that you're signing. So therefore, you have to be held accountable and you have to be there. I don't care if you're, if it's if you're deathly sick, that's okay. But not just because you have a headache, you went somewhere the next night or the following night and you don't feel good the following day and you don't want to go to practice. I always told my kids, I said, when you commit to something, you're committed. Practice, I don't care if it's in the heat, if it's cold, you're gonna go to practice, you're gonna go to all the games, because that's unfair to all the other guys who signed up, your teammates. And you have to be held accountable to those guys and the coach. So when you commit to something, try to stick with it. Because I see a lot of parents that allow their kids to sometimes not go to practice or go to games, and they make it easy for them, or they allow them to quit. And that's not good, because what happens, it just makes you, or reinforces that anytime you're going through adverse situations, that you can quit. You know, you got to battle it out, and you got to stay in there. And so that's one of the things I always taught my kids, that once you commit, you're committed until the end of the season.
And I think it was, I may misspeak here, but I think it was Vince Lombardi who had a quote somewhere along the lines of, one of the greatest skills we can learn in life is how to do things we don't want to do. And that speaks to what you're talking about, both of you on the commitment side of things, and being committed to a team and a cause and a goal and everything we're talking about. So now we kind of got my question out of the way. Let's go to those kids in front of you and see what they have in store for us.
Growing up, going through the recruiting process and everything, what was the biggest weakness? Like, what was the
Biggest weakness being recruited?
Yeah, like the toughest, like, what was holding you back?
You know, I really didn't have anything that held me back. Actually, you know, I had more scholarship offers in track and field because I was a two-time All-American in track and field. But then also I had scholarship offers to go play collegiate ball. So my circumstances were a little different. I was kind of in love with my girlfriend at the time, and that was probably the hardest decision I had to make because I was a year ahead of her. And she wanted to go to Ohio State. I wanted to go to Michigan State. So I compromised, and I was a year ahead of her. She was a junior. I was a senior. So I made the choice to stay right in Lexington, Kentucky, and go to UK as opposed to go to Michigan State. And she went to UK as well. You know, for me, that was probably the most difficult decision I had to make because I know I really wanted to go to Michigan State. But, you know, things work out. And I think, you know, sometimes we go to universities where we think where they're playing bowl games every year. Now, I can't say that about University of Kentucky at that time. We were struggling. I can't remember what they went. I think they went 5-11 when I was being recruited, and that was in '82. So, yeah, that was probably one of the factors, or the hardest thing I had to deal with in the recruiting process.
I'd say for me, it was I wanted to stay close to home. I grew up a big-time Florida State fan. My whole family was all Florida State fans. And we were committed to them for 2 years out of my high school time. And we ended up going to a camp right before our senior year at the University of Florida. And they kind of convinced us to switch our commitment to go to Florida. And so I had to deal with my family hating us for about a year and a half because we switched to go to the University of Florida. But ultimately, it was the best thing that ever happened to me and my brother. We were fortunate enough to both go there and receive a full scholarship, and both of us still playing up there to this day.
There you go. It is kind of unique that we have, you know, Mike Pouncey, center for the Chargers, brother, center for the Steelers, and we got Dermontti Dawson, Hall of Fame center for the Steelers here. So, and got some SEC ties with the Kentucky-Florida connection. So I did see Mike smile a little bit when you mentioned that Kentucky wasn't going to bowl games all the time. So.
They're used to it.
There you go. We have another question from the students there in front of you.
This question is for the coaches. Who inspired you the most to play football?
You go. Well, you know, who inspired me? I had, like I said, you know, I ran track and field, and a lot of people don't believe that I was a 4.4 sprinter in high school, 250. But we had won the state every year at my high school, Bryan Station Senior High in Lexington, Kentucky. But some of the other sprinters that were on the track team, those guys played football. And so I had Coach Parker, Steve Parker, who was my high school coach at that time. He was just freshly hired at Bryan Station High School. And I think at that time he was only 26 years of age. And so I was coming out of biology class one day, and I come out of the hallway, and then I see this man coming up to me, and he grabbed me around the shoulder, and he said, "Son, where have you been all my life?" I'm only 6'3", but I weighed probably about 245 at that time. And so he said, "You got to go out for football." So he had Mark Logan, Cornell Burbage. We all graduated from the same class. Both of those guys got drafted. You know, one to Dallas, one to Cleveland. And, you know, my cousin Mark, he played 12 years. My other buddy played 4 years. But Steve Parker, I don't think if he had not come up to me and convinced me to go out for football, I don't think I never would have. So I would have stuck with track because really my ultimate goal was to make the Olympics. And but I'm glad I chose track. I mean, football over track. So that was my biggest influence.
For me, I'd probably say my dad. He went to Louisiana Tech for 1 year and dropped out, and he kind of just lived through me and my brother through our football careers. And he pushed us every single day, coached us through Little League, and it's tough. If you ever had your dad coach you through any sport, that's one of the hardest things to do because he's the toughest person that you can ever have coach you. But he pushed me and my brother every single day. He always encouraged us to be the best players that we can be. But for me, I was fortunate enough to have a twin brother, and so with having a twin brother, it's kind of easier because you're always trying to compete at one another, trying to be the best at one thing. And so for him, we've always just pushed each other our whole careers. Anything he's accomplished, I've always tried to accomplish, and so it's kind of worked out the best for us. So I would probably say my dad and my brother were my biggest inspiration.
I know for you, Mr. Dawson, you chose Coach Parker as your presenter when you were enshrined here in the Hall of Fame here, 2012. For you, Mike, is there a coach, whether it be a high school coach, a little league coach, you mentioned your dad, or position coach, head coach, that really had a big influence in your football life?
I would say all my coaches along the way. My high school coach was a big influence on our lives. He believed in me and my brother when nobody else really did. We come from a really small town in Lakeland, Florida, but he was a great coach. He's one of the all-time winningest coaches in high school football in the state of Florida. His name's Bill Castle. And I would say Coach Steve Adazio, he's now the head coach of Boston College. He was our offensive line coach during our tenure at the University of Florida. And the things he did for us while we were in college were, just stuff we can't repay him for. He pushed us every single day, not only to be athletes, the best athletes that we can, but he also pushed us to be student athletes. He was hard on us to go to class every single day. And last August, I went back and I walked across the stage for my parents, got my degree in sociology. And so I would probably say that those two guys, those two coaches were probably the most influential on our careers.
Very, very good. Let's go out to no, we had our school from Canton, Ohio connect in. I see some students sitting there. So let's go out to them and see if we have a question for our guest speakers today from McKinley. This is not the time to be shy.
Are you talking about here?
No, we have Canton McKinley, and for you, Mr. Dawson, it's that school sitting kind of right behind the stadium here in Canton, Ohio. They're connected in for today's broadcast, and want to see if we had a student there with a question for you guys. Maybe not. All right, we'll come back to you guys there in Canton, see if we have one. We can get one ready for us. So, all right, in that case, let's go back out to the students in front of you with our next one.
So was there ever a time where you guys thought that you can't do it and to quit? And if there was, how did you overcome the past year?
Well, for me, I tried football in my 9th grade year. I was a tight end, and that's because I was influenced by some of my buddies, and so I really didn't like it that much, and I didn't really play, and that could have been my fault because I didn't come to some of the practices, which is bad, and so that was a bad experience for me. But when I went to high school, I didn't play my 10th grade year. And then, like I said, when coach came up to me, Steve Parker, and then convinced some of my teammates, for me to come out on my junior year. So really, I only played 2 years of organized football, my junior and my senior year. But yeah, I kind of forgot the question as far as the specifics of the question. What was it again as far as
Was there a time you thought
that I could give it up? No, once I got in high school and went out my junior year, really I did not have any thoughts about quitting. I started to enjoy it, started to learn the concept of football. Then I was growing as well. I was 6'3", 225 and run, and so I was doing pretty well at that time. It's just the technique stuff that I had to work on a little bit, but never had any thought of quitting.
For me, neither. I've never had that thought. But yeah, I've been playing football since I was 6 years old, and it was always a dream to me to make it to the NFL. And I knew, to get to the NFL, quitting was never going to be an option. And so, even when things weren't going the way as I expected them to go, I always just tried to figure out ways to how to make it better. And I think once you have that mindset, that'll get you. It'll always accomplish your dreams. And because I went in my freshman year in college and I wasn't starting, my brother was starting at right guard, and I felt both of us had the same talent to play. It was just at the time there weren't enough positions. There were no enough positions open, and so I was frustrated at the time, but I never thought about quitting. I just always figured out, man, all right, I got to work harder. I got to do this. I got to do that just to get to where I wanted to be. And so I'm sitting up here today.
And gentlemen, as we've talked a lot about commitment and committing to the team, and kind of maybe sacrificing self goals for the good of the team. I think you both have some interesting stories. I know, Dermontti, you started at guard, I believe, your rookie year before moving to the center after Mike Webster, and then Mike, did you even play defense as a freshman at Florida, maybe?
Yeah, I started the last 6 games of the season at defensive tackle. So I made the switch back over to offensive line my sophomore year.
Okay. Can you guys just talk a little bit about that mindset of doing whatever the team needs you to do, and just filling in, like you said, wherever they need you?
Well, for me, my situation when I was drafted, when I was attending the University of Kentucky, I was a pulling guard because I was quick and agile. And then midway through, but they redshirted a whole freshman year. And so I guess my sophomore year, they switched me to defensive tackle. And I've been practicing guard all spring ball. And then all of a sudden for the blue-white game, they wanted to switch me to defensive tackle to see if I could be a good DT. So I played the game as a defensive tackle. They switched me back to guard. And then after that, I stayed a guard, from my junior year and senior year. But I really didn't start. I didn't start until my junior year at guard. So, and then I got drafted as a guard to Pittsburgh in the second round. And I started guard my rookie year beside Mike Webster. And then after Mike went to Kansas City in '89, I ended up switching to center. Chuck Noll called me into the office and said, Dermontti, we want you to battle it out with Chuck Lanza, who was the third round pick of that year in '88. And I was the second round pick in '88. So you really don't have a choice to move when Chuck Noll comes up and tells you that you're going to be, he wants you to switch to center. So, and then I finally won the position, and he named me the starter for the '89 season.
Yep. So for me, I was like I said, I wasn't playing much my freshman year in college, and the coaches came over. They knew how hard I worked, and they knew I had talent. We were kind of struggling against the run during that year. And so they asked me to go over and play defensive line. I was like, sure, whatever it takes just to get on the football field and whatever it takes to help the team win. And so I went over there, and I thought I was going to be the greatest defensive tackle since Warren Sapp. And I'm over there, I'm playing. I know all the calls that the offensive lines make because at this time I've been playing offensive line for so long. And so I'm making plays. I'm doing well. So after the season, I'm telling my brother, I'm like, all right, man, I can't wait till next year. I'm going to be the best defensive tackle in college football. I sit down with Coach Urban Meyer in the offseason. He's like, all right, you stunk. So we're going to move you back to offensive line. And so I ended up playing the next 2 years at right guard. And then once my brother left, I ended up moving over to center.
Yeah. And did you have an interception on
the
defense?
The craziest part, yeah. So my rookie year, I got drafted down to Miami, and Chad Henne ended up being a starting quarterback that year. And Jake Long was on that Michigan team. We played them in the Capital One Bowl. So I ended up intercepting our starting quarterback from my rookie season. It was on a screenplay. I got caught a tip pass. And Jake Long ended up tackling me. So it was like the running joke going on to the season, my rookie season. But it was a great experience. College football is one of the funnest times of my life. You just went to school every day, played football, and didn't have to worry about paying bills.
And obviously, I'm not built for the offensive line room, but I can imagine when you walk into the offensive line room saying you were able to pick off the ball. There's some talking going on there. I can imagine. So, all right. I know we got a note from our school here in Canada. They're ready for a question, so we'll throw it back out to them. And Dan, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you guys, so don't worry about that. And go ahead. right, Dan, I'm not getting a microphone from you. So if you want, I know you have my email. Go ahead and send me the email, and we'll interject the program as we go. One thing with technology, guys, it's always a fickle thing, and there's always something that comes up. So we'll just go with it for the program. But we do have one question from Facebook that I wanted to interject, and I'm going to kind of morph it to fit both of your situations because it's been asked twice. So for you, Dermontti, someone was asking to just describe how special Steelers Nation is to you, and then they also asked for you, Mike, to describe how special those Florida teams were when you were there, and a lot of talent coming off of those teams. So that was one of the questions from Brian on Facebook, one us to ask.
Well, I can tell you that Steeler Nation, they have a great following with Pittsburgh. And no matter where you go, I was in Durango, Colorado. I took a 3-hour train ride to Silverton, Colorado, a go town. And I'm walking down the street, and I had a Steeler shirt. And of course, I had some people that lived in my same neighborhood in Pittsburgh when I bought my first house. But, you know, the Steeler organization, I mean, they have a great following throughout the country. And the Black and Gold Nation and Steelers United, they're all over the place. They have the fan clubs. Every city that you go to, either be away or home games in Pittsburgh, they have all your local dives and restaurants where they have a Steeler bar. And I've been to several states to host, you know, some of the Steeler fans. But they have a great following, and they're great fans.
Well, I would say my time at the University of Florida is one of the greatest times of my life. That camaraderie that our football team built, the brotherhood that we built, we had a special group of guys. And I think the 2006, 2007 recruiting class, probably one of the best recruiting classes during that time of college football. But the brotherhood that we built, the friendships that we built, the relationships that we built over that time with all the coaches, all the players in that football team, it's just something I'd never forget. You know, a lot of these guys still playing in the NFL to this day. But the guys that aren't, the guys that we don't talk to as much, whenever we see those guys, it's like we left off from the day that we seen each other last. And that's just something that is just hard to explain. It's something that you'll cherish for the rest of your life, especially when you win a championship. Anytime you win a championship, the guys that put in the work on that football team, and whether it start from the coaching staff down to the players, you just build a relationship that'll last a lifetime.
Very good. So our question that I got from our Cam McKinley Bulldogs here, I think it's very, very poignant for our offensive lineman group here, is the communication and working as a team and the trust that you guys have to have on offensive line to really understand what everyone's doing without talking. Can you guys kind of expound upon that trust and just how it is working as a unit and the importance of that in the offensive line room?
Well, us as an offensive line, you know, it's a cohesive group. And, you know, the only time you really hear our names is if we have a penalty. You know, basically, that's the only time you hear a holding 63, offside 63. That's the only time you hear our names. But, you know, it's a cohesive group. And sometimes there's nonverbal communication between the offensive line and, you know, both of us being centers. You know, we have to be listening to the quarterback because if it makes an audible, then that changes the complexity of the play. You know, we have to communicate that to the backside of the offensive line as well as the front side of the offensive line. And sometimes in pass protections, then you have a back who may be affected with the change in pass protection. So you're constantly your mind's just going 1,000 miles a minute, trying to look at the defense based on where Mike is, because a lot of it's predicated on where Mike is as far as blocking schemes. So until the quarterback makes an audible. So, you know, communication skills and everything else with the O-line and communicating that down the line, whether to the tight end side or the open side. Everybody's got to know what everybody's got to do in order to make the play successful, or at least have a chance for the play to be successful.
And everyone's got to do their job and not try to worry about doing the guy next to him's job.
Yeah, don't try to do too much. Do your job.
Fair enough. Let's go back out to those students in front of you with another question.
Back and back. The difference is, you talking about as far as the athletic ability, or? Well, of course. I mean, anytime when you go from, say, Pop Warner to high school or middle school, and then to high school to college, it's the speed of the game, the size of the players, and when you make it to the pros, usually most guys when they come out of college going into the pros, making that transition physically is not as great, because I think college guys, we train more in college than what you do in the pros. So the speed of the game, you're just as strong or as stronger than some of the guys you're playing against. Maybe larger guys at times and better athletes in each position, but that's usually the transition that you have to make. And it's more mental than in college. You have a scholarship. Some guys don't take it seriously, and they're just there for the ride or trying to get an education. But when you make it to the pros, you're not guaranteed anything. You can sign a contract, but if you don't perform at this high level each and every game and have longevity doing that, you're susceptible to being cut, and it's a job. So that's the difference between making that transition from college to pros. You got the speed of the game. You're probably just as strong, as fast as some of the guys in the NFL, but it's a business now. College, it's a game. So those are the two different transitions, going from college to the pros that you have to make adjustments to.
I would say for me, the competition level is gonna be the same, whatever, whichever level you're playing at. But for me, the biggest difference was the terminology. When it came to the playbook, in high school, you're just running plays right, you're running plays left. You got a couple pass plays. In college, you kind of get more advanced, but in the NFL, the terminology of the words of the different plays, all the different plays you have, the different identifications of the guys you're working to, is probably the biggest thing. And that's probably the biggest reason why guys don't succeed in the NFL. Not because of talent. Everyone has talent. Everyone works hard. It's the mental side of it, remembering your plays, remembering what to do. And that's probably, the biggest thing for me why I've seen guys not succeed in the NFL.
Yeah, applying themselves and making sure they learn the playbook, because the college playbook may be maybe about this thick.
Yeah,
Then your pro playbook is a little thicker, and they've got every adjustment in there. Some plays you don't use, and they pick and choose the plays that we use against certain competition, against certain games or teams, because you have plays for every situation, every set, every style of defense. So the playbook gets a little thicker, but you don't have to learn all of them. In camp, we try to do insertion in training camp for you to kind of learn and get a basis of some of the plays. But then you kind of chop that down a little bit, and you come up with a game plan based on who you're going to play, defenses they play, the competition, whether it be they got heck of a secondary, you want to exploit the run game there, and vice versa. So it's adjustable, but yeah, the playbook are the biggest differences that I saw coming from college to the pros, and terminology.
And gentlemen, we just had the NFL draft this past week, and there's a number of guys stepping into new locker rooms, and you guys were both high round draft picks and went through that. What advice can you give to maybe students that aren't going to be stepping into NFL locker rooms, but maybe they're stepping into a college locker room as a freshman? Maybe they're just joining a new club at their high school. Maybe they're moving and joining a new high school. What kind of advice can you guys give to those students stepping into new situations based off of some of your experiences in football?
Well, for me, I know anytime you have anything new and making changes, you just have to give it time. I know a lot of people, I'm doing this with my daughter now. I'm going from middle school to high school. So she's kind of nervous about making that transition from middle to high school. And so we had to go register for classes on Saturday. And so I guess she thought it was going to be fun and games, but we're sitting at a table, we got teachers talking to us, you have a few students talking about some of the clubs. And it's the same way in sports. When you go from one level from college to the pros, there's always adjustments. You're going to have uncertainties where you're not going to feel comfortable in a certain situation, but you just have to give it a little time and be patient and not rush to judgment. You know, that's the most important thing, and not give up, and don't have a negative attitude in the beginning. Give it some time, let it sink in, and then go from there.
I would say for the guys that are coming in that just got drafted, or whether you're leaving in from high school to go to college, if you're a high recruit or you're not a high recruit, I think the biggest thing that guys, see the most is you go in and earn the respect of your peers. You come in with a clear mind, a clear attitude, go in there and kind of just earn the respect of the guys from the team. And once you get the respect from the guys, I think that you can be more of yourself. You can be the player that they expect you to be, and it'll make the transition a lot more smoother for you.
Very good. We have another question from our school here in Canton. They submitted. And they want to know, was there a moment, or what was it like when you first played football, or was there a moment when you realized that you fell in love with the game? Is there something in your guys' past you think back on that is kind of where it all started?
For me, I really started to enjoy football my junior year because I was much bigger. Because when I had my ninth grade incident where I played tight end, I didn't go to practice very much. It wasn't my choice. But once I got to high school and my buddies convinced me to go out, I wanted to try to play football. I just really enjoyed that time. I just really enjoyed it, and tried to learn the position, and then I've grown a little bit more too. So I was a little stronger. So it just took a little adjustment time, but overall, I enjoyed the whole experience.
I could remember back when I was a young football player playing youth football, and our mom was really big on school, and she if you didn't do good in school, you couldn't play football. And I think that's the moment I kind of realized that I love football. We weren't doing too well in school, so she set us out of football, and it just ate me up. And I missed it so much that I got school right. I started making better grades, and I was like, man, this is what it's all about. This is what it's for. Without school, you can't play football, and they instilled that in us as young kids. And so that's when I realized I love the game. That I'd do whatever it took to be out on the football field.
Let's go back out to those students in front of you for another question.
Well, my toughest was my first year at center, which was my second year in the league. I just got switched to center. And Michael Ball, Jerry Ball, played for Detroit. He was perennial perennial Pro Bowl nose guard. And Jerry Ball was about 330 pounds. He was less than 6 feet tall, quick, and we had a trapping scheme of offense. So here I am trying to block back on him on some of the trap plays. And man, he's anticipating the snap. I don't know if I was doing something to give it away, or maybe the guard was, doing something, but I'd snap the ball, and next thing you know, boy, he's almost halfway across the line of scrimmage. So I'm saying, okay, well, how do you get this fast of a jump? And he was wearing me out the first half. And so I'm going back to the bench, and I said, Coach, I can't block him. And he said, just calm down, give it some time. So second half, I started prematurely snapping the ball just a few seconds, split hair second faster than when the quarterback was asking doing the cadence. So that allowed me to kind of get a quicker hand on him and be able to get on him, so he wasn't penetrating through the line of scrimmage and knocking the guard up on some of the pulling plays. And some of the counters, he was knocking guard and tackle off. So Jerry Ball was the first one who introduced me and welcomed me to the NFL against a perennial nose guard player. But after the second half and figuring him out, I did fine.
For me, I would say Ndamukong Suh. And the reason I say that is, what year this was like 2014. I had to play guard that year. And I remember going in when he was playing in Detroit, going into the game, and I was like, all right, this is going to be a tough one here. I've watched him on film all week. I've seen how great of a football player he was. And it wasn't until the first series of the game, we go out there, and he comes out the ball, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, all right. Maybe I need to go in there and lift some more weight before the game. And so I give up a sack the first series. And I remember going out of that game, like I've never had to work so hard against a player in my whole career ever playing football. And I was just like, man, it just gave me a whole different respect level for him. He's such a great football player. And then when he came down to Miami, I had always wondered, like, what made him such a good football player? But I seen every single day it was his commitment. It was the discipline that he showed every single day. The guy brought it. He came in, he worked out hard as he could every single day. Didn't matter if he had on pads, no pads. He was the same tempo, same speed, and it's what makes great football players. So for me, it was Ndamukong Suh. He kind of gave me a welcoming party to playing guard because that was the first year I ever played guard in the NFL, and I was like, man, this will be the last year I ever played. Any team asks me to play guard, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And along those same lines, gentlemen, Jordan on Facebook wants to know, who do you guys think is the greatest O-lineman ever? And Mike, you don't have to say Dermontti.
I was going to say Dermontti.
Well, hey, I think that's a hard question, to compare, different guys in different eras, because the game changes, it constantly changes. Of course, Mike Webster was one of the great centers. You have so many. Kevin Mawai is a great center. It's hard to compare. Yeah, Jim Otto, another great center. So I think it's hard to compare guys in different eras because the game has changed so much. All of them are good, and but I really can't pinpoint and just say one is better than the other.
Yeah, for me, I'd say the same. I mean, I've always looked up to the guys that have always come before me, Dermontti, Mike Webster, and I just feel like, the Steelers have always had a great center, and now my brother's playing there, and so I've always looked up to those guys. When I'm watching film, I honestly only watch my brother now because he's current playing, but I look up to all those guys. But I would say one of those guys would probably be the best at that position because it's kind of hard to say overall offensive lineman because we just look at it as our position, like at center. But there's guys that are, great guards, there's great tackles, some positions that we couldn't even have played. So
very good. Let's go back out to those students in front of you with another question if we have it.
Let's get you in the back. I don't think. The hardest decision I've ever made pertaining to football? I really don't think I've had any hard decisions to make pertaining to football. I did question when Chuck Noll wanted to move me to center from guard because I was naturally a pulling guard. But really, I didn't have a choice in that. I mean, I'm not going to tell Chuck Noll that I want to stay a guard. Then I may have been off the team. So, I really haven't had any hard decisions to make pertaining to football.
Was it tough to say goodbye to football? To retire?
Yeah. Well, I think it's tough for anybody, any player, to say goodbye to football. And my case was a little different. I played 13 seasons. I went 11 years without missing a game. My last two seasons, I missed 16 games, and that was due to an injury. I pulled or ruptured a tendon of the ischial tuberosity, and it connects the hamstring to the pelvic bone. And most doctors see this in car accidents from head-on collisions when your body gets thrown forward and you have the seatbelt on. So I ruptured that tendon in my left hamstring 3 consecutive times. Once in the Pro Bowl in '99, midway through the '99 season, midway through the 2000 season. So in 2001, I decided, going through physical therapy and rehab with a therapist, that my hamstring was still giving me a lot of problems, soreness. So I had to make that decision to call Chuck Noll and Bill Power and Coach and Mr. Rooney to let those guys know that I think I'm going to have to retire. Most players, most of us as players, we want to retire on our own terms, but sometimes your body tells you that you just can't do it anymore. And so that was my situation as far as retiring.
I think for me, I would say probably this year was probably the hardest decision I ever had to make. It was just because it was the first time that I had to choose like where I was going to play at next. I got released this offseason by the Dolphins, and both of my kids live in Florida, and I was like, all right, my first mindset was like, I want to go somewhere close to home so I could be close to my kids. And then I was like, I'm at a point now where I want to be, where I want to win. I want to win a championship. I want to do something special. And the only way to kind of get remembered as an offensive lineman is to win a championship. And so this year, it came about. I got released, and I was like, all right, what are the teams? What are the different options? What are my different options? And my agent gave me all these different teams, and Chargers is the one that stuck home with me. It kind of stuck out. Everything they had out here, they had a really good defense, they had a great quarterback, and I was just like, so we set up a visit, and I was like, man, look, I told my agent before I got on the plane, I was like, I don't want to leave Los Angeles without signing a contract. I don't care what it is. Let's just make this thing happen. And I was fortunate enough, they believed in me out here, and we signed a deal. But it was one of the hardest decisions ever because I've never lived out of the state of Florida. I grew up in Lakeland, Florida. I went to the University of Florida for college, and I was fortunate enough to get drafted down to Miami. And so when this kind of all hit me this offseason, I was like, wow, like, can I enjoy it? I really didn't enjoy the process that much because, it was just something that was just so different, something I never expected to happen. But, everything happened for a reason. I feel blessed to be out here and have this opportunity.
And not to ask a tough question here, but it's one that always comes up in this program. And I wish you all the best this year, Mike. But a question always comes up is Hall of Fame ring or Super Bowl ring? And Dermontti, I don't know if you have yours on, but
I bring my Hall of Fame ring just to show the kids so they can see it and see what it looks like. But I don't have a Super Bowl ring. I just have an AFC championship ring. We lost to Dallas in Super Bowl 30.
So if you guys had to pick one, which one are you picking?
Well, you can only pick one, right?
I can only pick one.
If you can go back and change history, I know we're speaking in theoreticals here.
For me, I would say a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what you work for.
That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's what you sign up for.
Yeah.
That's how you get remembered. It's hard to get remembered as an individual in this sport because so many different great players, and this is the ultimate team sport. And so I would say a Super Bowl ring because that's something that you'll be able to live with the band of brothers for the rest of your life. And so if we're ever fortunate enough to do that, it's probably the biggest, the happiest day of my life.
It's a team sport, and it's a team accomplishment. So
it is.
I can understand the choice. So, do we have any other questions from the group there in front of you? We'll go back to those guys.
Any questions? I know there were two hands up. For me, I mean, I know a lot of people, most fans in general, they think that when we play against teams that we hate those guys. They have a job to do just like we are. They just play on the opposite team. And I've got buddies that I play golf with that I played against, defensive linemen, linebackers. No, there's not a hatred amongst opposing teams. Guys we played against. Competition wise, most of the guys are just family guys, man. They respect your game just as much as you respect their game, and we all get along.
I say the same. We play in division, so a lot of these guys you play twice a year, and for the most part, there's only a few places to train in each state in the off season, and a lot of guys come and train at the same place, and so you build different relationships throughout the years, throughout the off season with training with guys, and you just have you build a different respect for guys because of the way they train and stuff. And so for me, I've had guys that I've played in the same division twice a year that I have to go against, but I train with them in the off season. They're my friends, and so when you step on the football field, at the end of the day, there ain't no friends, like especially on the opposing football team. You're out there to do one thing, and that's to win a football game. But in the offseason, a lot of times you hang out with a lot of these guys you go against, and so you build different relationships. So I would say the same thing, Mr. Dawson. There's no hatred out there. It's just that when you step across those lines, it's it's the one goal, and that's to help your team win a football game.
Yeah, it's a mutual respect among players. But when you get on the field, you can't be your friend now. It's all about winning. And beating you.
I'm sorry to cut you off there, Mr. We have a couple minutes left, and I want to make sure we ask this question, at least discuss this topic. As football players, Hall of Famers, there's a great option to do things off the football field that create an impact much beyond the game. And I know, Dermontti, you're very active with what we do here at the Hall of Fame and some of our initiatives and programs educationally. And Mike, I believe you have the Team Pouncey Foundation for underprivileged youth. Can you guys just talk a little bit about some of where your passions lie off the football field and some of those different programs that can make an impact?
Well, I do a lot of stuff for Make-A-Wish Foundation, March of Dimes, and various other charities. Kind of hard to name all of them, but then I do a lot of charitable events for other guys who are trying to raise money for. I was just down in Palm Beach, Florida, doing some stuff with Joe Namath for a hospital that they named a wing after him. So we were down there trying to raise funds. I do a lot of stuff with Toby Keith for Kids Corral, which is almost like a Ronald McDonald House, to help raise money. We get a chance to go and visit with the families that are staying with the Ronald McDonald at the I forgot the name of the Kids Corral at the hospital, and it's almost like a Ronald McDonald House. So I do that with Toby Keith. Make-A-Wish Foundation. I've done multiple events for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and for us as professional athletes, and some of these charities contacting us to come and be there as one of the quote-unquote celebrities. Because we have built a platform where we can go out and some of these charities use our names, and so they get more sponsorship, and that means more dollars for the charity as well. And you have to give back, because I've been given so much and I've been blessed throughout my whole career that I will always continue to give back. And so I think that's one of the most important things that guys should do. And, you can do it in high school as well as a team, but I think giving back is key, and that's paramount.
Yeah, so we've been running our nonprofit foundation for about 8 years now. Me and my brother, our mom's the president of it. She kind of runs everything, but we've been doing it now for 8 years. And what we do every year is that we host a weekend back in our hometown of Lakeland, Florida. We call it the Pouncey Weekend, and we'll do a youth football camp. We usually have around about 1,500 kids, and we'll also do a cheerleading camp for the girls, other girls that want to play football. And then we'll do a book bag giveaway around August, whenever it's time for the kids to go back to school. And we do a turkey drive every year. But it's something that's been dear to us because we grew up less fortunate. And so now that we have this platform to be able to give back, we use this platform in a way to be able to give back to kids that less fortunate or kids that are fortunate. It's just something that we kind of built within our community, and we kind of made it into a big community thing. So whenever we have this weekend every year in our hometown, the whole city comes out, and it's been special to us because it's gotten bigger and bigger in each and every year, and something that we look forward to each year during the off season to do.
Thank you guys for that. And I mentioned we have maybe about 3 minutes left. So any closing remarks you guys have for the group today? If it's something we talked about, you just kind of want to reinforce, or if there was something you were hoping we get into that maybe we didn't touch on, just any remarks for our group as we get ready to close our program.
Well, I like to tell you guys, me personally, I was one of those kind of guys that an offensive lineman who I used to try to kill everybody with the first ball because I wanted to knock you out. And, I was always finding myself on the ground. So we all have weaknesses and deficiencies in our technique and everything else. And what I want to tell you guys is that if you struggle with some kind of technique, at your position, just take the time to work on what you don't do well. We all tend to do the things that we like to do well, but we never like to, take on the things that we don't do, that we do bad, and we need help on to kind of help improve us. And I think if you work on your weaknesses, that's going to make you an overall better athlete. And also, since you guys are still in high school, education is key for you guys. They talk about dumb jocks and all this sort of stuff. You can't be done playing athletics, but you got to make split decisions or split second decisions very quickly. And that takes a lot of study time and a lot of book time, and you'll play well. But I just stress to you guys to, continue your education, because you can't make it, even if you have aspirations to make it to the next level, you can't make it to the next level not having the schooling and not having the grades. So hey, just continue to work hard in the classroom, on the field. Listen to your coaches and prepare with whatever plays you guys have. Just study the playbook, and then go out and work on some of the things that you do that you struggle with. Just take a little extra time and start working, and that's going to make you an overall athlete, a better athlete. But like I said, education is the key. So you got to do the same when it comes to your schoolwork also.
And I'll leave you guys with this. I encourage all you guys to surround yourself around positive people. You can always tell what kind of person someone is by the people that hang around. And I was a guy that kind of struggled with that growing up as a kid. I thought it was cool to hang around the guys that would get in trouble, stuff like that. But there's always going to be people that believe in you. And those are people that you want to be around. But it wasn't for me until I believed in myself, until my life changed. When I started believing in myself, it made everything around me better. So I'll leave you guys with that. Make sure you surround yourself with positive people, and good things happen.
Very well. So, gentlemen, thank you from our president David Baker on down to ourselves here, our youth and education staff. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge, your words today for those students that are in front of you and everyone watching across the country. So, Dermontti, we look forward to seeing you here in Canton sometime soon. Mike, good luck this season. And thank you guys for taking time out of your day. And for everyone else, this will conclude our program. Look forward to talking soon. See you guys.
All right, take care.